It's Wednesday, it's Celt Day. I'm Linda O'Reilly. I'm joined by my colleagues Damien Donoghue and Sean McMahon, and we're here today to review some of the top stories in today's newspaper. Quick look at some of the main headlines. Former Kilnacrot Abbey to be knocked by, but Smith grave to remain untouched. Green light for Lakeland Lochpatrick merger. A group has been tasked with examining the viability of delivering a domestic violence refuge for Cavan Town. Claude Hawes family to meet new Garda chief. The Cavan Town St Patrick's Day parade is back with a bang. Belturbet aims to be one of Ireland's first zero waste towns, and the go-ahead has been given for the N55 works at Killadoon. In sport, St Mogues make history with Ulster title. We have fourth defeat for Cavan as Red Hands turn the screw, and Cavan men have helped Leitrim to promotion. There's plenty more in the paper today. We've got a preview in our arts section from the Shercock Drama Festival, and we've got pictures galore from a fashion show in the Lavey Inn, the Apostolic Society concert in Mullahorn, pictures from the launch of the Chaser in Castletara, fun run in King's Court, as well as a tractor run in Tunnyduff, and plenty more besides. So plenty in today's set. We start with our main story in today's paper on the front page, written by my eminent colleague here, Sean McMahon, and it's in relation to the former Kilnacrot Norbertine Abbey, which is to be knocked for a new faith centre. Tell us a bit about this interesting story, Sean.
Yeah, I suppose Kilnacrot famed over the years, Norbertine Abbey there for many decades, and then in more recent times, I suppose the infamous Father Brendan Smith was interred there, and we all know the story about that, but they were confirmed to me there that his grave will remain intact, and the new Kilnacrot premises and the whole complex that formed the Abbey over the years will be knocked in the near future, and something in the region of 4 million will be spent on building a new faith formation centre, and that will include a small chapel and an area that they can all gather and assemble for the faith formation. There will also be an office and other ancillary facilities. But Anne, the lay apostle, was there as well, and she was telling me about how she gets messages from Jesus by locution, which is through her soul, she told me on the occasion. So that's something that readers can read all about and make up their own minds about that. But we were saying earlier on here, maybe it's time that Jesus Christ came in reality to Cavan. It couldn't come to a better place, because with the wars in Syria and different places in the world, in Bethlehem, maybe he'd be very welcome here in Ballygymstuff. And we're very astute people, and I'm sure we'll be able to deliver the message, Linda.
Well, we should backtrack a little bit there now, Sean. This is a development by the Direction for Our Times group. Sean referred to the lay apostle, and so it's a €4 million development. They have yet to lodge planning permission for it, or apply for planning permission, I should say. And this group purchased the facility 7 years ago for 610,000.
That's right, 610,000.
Not a money, Sean. How are they being funded?
Well, they get donations from all around the world, and I was just reflecting there. Father Dara Connolly is the chaplain to the group, a very affable Father Dara Connolly, and I was just asking him there about how they come up with the money, and he was explaining there the comment. The front, Sean, it's actually on the front page there.
God has loads of money.
Yeah, he was. When I asked him how the centre is being funded, Father Connolly replied, "God has loads of money. He just keeps it in everyone else's bank accounts. It will be a matter of fundraising for the new centre. And when we need something, it is because the Lord wants it, and He prays for it." So, as Father Connolly said, it's as simple as that.
Well, it's kind of hard to disagree with that, really.
Yeah. Would you be a religious person yourself, Damien?
I'd have faith, all right. Yeah.
In passant. Yeah.
Definitely.
I'd be the same now. I'd be spiritual, more so than religious. But look at, I mean, they're
I think the emphasis in this and lay formation, and they're getting the backpack thing, which is doing great. They are going into schools, and you talk about being spiritual. There is a big emphasis on that and connecting with people. And they say about the fall off in the priests and the religious, the nuns as well. So there'll be a lot of lay people, they said, taking ceremonies and things in the future, and I suppose that's the way it's going.
I mean, you have to commend them for to get on Kilmacrat Abbey, because there is such a horrible history there, linked back to that notorious paedophile Brendan Smith. I mean, it is a little bit disappointing in a way that the grave will remain, but as I understand it, it can't be removed.
Yeah, but I was reflecting on that and say you did want to move it to someplace else. I'm sure other people to another community. It's like the thing in Galway or Tuam and the babies that's supposed to be found on the ground and all that. Nobody wants it probably be beside them, so it'd be more consternation if you decided to move it to elsewhere. So
I think this is very different. I think you're right. Where do you move him to? But you were there when he was buried, Sean, weren't you?
I was in the middle of the night, and I was doing a report for RT at the time, and I was reflecting that he was buried in the middle of the night on the cover of darkness, and it was, I suppose, symbolic. There was some dark parts of his life as well, but he is dead and gone, and I suppose some people may say, let the dead rest in peace, no matter what they may have done when they were in this life.
He's buried under concrete, so I mean it will be very difficult to remove him anyway. And there are plenty of other people buried at the graveyard there who deserve to rest in peace. So good luck to Direction for our times with their new development out there, and let's hope it's the beginning of a new and more positive chapter.
But maybe we can promote tourism on the back of it. They're all flocking to Knock and Lourdes and different places, and if we can bring them to Ballygem stuff and Cavan in general, be nothing wrong with it, Damien.
If Mary and Jesus are going to listen to anybody, it's Sean McMahon, I'd say.
Thank you very much, Damien. I might become a preacher myself.
Now you can tell Jesus to transfer some of that money to my bank account when you're at it. Brilliant news at long last. I feel like cheering. Possibility of a dedicated residential domestic violence refuge for Cavan Town. This is something that was, I suppose, first mentioned at the Joint Policing Committee meeting that you were at a couple of weeks ago, Sean. But now we have confirmation that Breffni integrated a subgroup. It's the Cavan Against Domestic Violence group has been charged with looking at this and examining the need and the viability for this type of facility in Cavan Town, and they're doing that under one of the programmes that's linked to the council. And
the group, they've set up a committee, and they'll be called Cavan Domestic Violence, or Cavan Against Domestic Violence Group, which is very fascinating to see, and they're visiting different areas in Ireland, including Tipperary and Clare and Cork and west of Ireland, I think, to see how domestic violence units are working there. So if it gets up and running in Cavan, it'll be brilliant, because there is a need for it. At the moment, people have to go to Navan or Dundalk, I think it is, Linda, the only centres there is.
I think Castleblaney as well.
There's a residential, it's not a residential centre, I don't think, the Charman in Castleblaney, but it provides a good service, they were saying at that meeting. But actually, it's something that's long overdue. They did make another point at that meeting that some women are brought to refuges rather, and they come home the next day and they were wondering why that happens. But I suppose you can't legislate for people and their own private lives and why they may have been left at home and why they want to return. And if there's children involved, it's not easy, Linda.
Well, I think that's part of the point. It's very difficult for a woman in that situation, and where there's domestic violence, there's usually some form of mental abuse as well by the perpetrator. So it's very difficult for a woman to take that decision to leave, particularly if she has children, then to uproot them, take them away from their schools, their communities, perhaps the extended family, their grandmother, where they may have support there as well, and bring them away from all of that. It just adds to the trauma and the turmoil. So if they did have a facility like this in Cavan Town, it might make it easier for some women to make that decision.
Another great point that was made at the meeting was, Linda, if they have children and they're going to school, and imagine if they arrive, go to Navan or Dundalk, they bring the children with them, and it's not feasible, they maybe have to bring them to a new school, and maybe that's why they return. So they emphasise that we badly need the refuge centre in Cavan Town, and that the children can remain in their school, which is a big thing, because it's enough having the trauma in the home without children uprooted from their school and their friends as well.
And there were some figures provided at that meeting, we should say as well, that between Cavan District and Ballybor District in the last quarter, so the last 3 months of 2018, there were a total of 88 incidents reported to the Gardaí of domestic violence, but only 11 of those were they able to arrest the perpetrators. So where the women were prepared to say, yes, I want him arrested and I want him charged. And I suspect that figure would have fallen off more by the time the situation will get to the district court, because I would have seen it in my time as a court reporter that a woman gets on the stand and says, I don't want to proceed and I want to withdraw the charges. So, I mean, 88 reported incidents, I mean, that's presumably only the tip of the iceberg, Damien, in terms of the amount of actual incidents that are behind closed doors in homes.
Yeah, and again, numbers like that completely astound me, that there is that level of it going on, and maybe that's 88 incidents, but only maybe 30 people, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So it could be repeated incidents within it. Again, I'm only thinking, I've no idea what way it is, but one incident is too many. Like domestic violence on any way is just completely unacceptable, and it's the kind of the cowardliness of doing it behind closed doors and doing it away, and the abuse is involved. I don't know, it's something that turns my stomach.
It's terrible, it's disgusting, absolutely. And there does seem, sadly, in recent times and recent years, to be a surge in extremely violent crimes against women in their home, with a number of deaths. And we don't need to mention it in this area at all with what's happened in Castlerahan in recent years with the Haws. And indeed we note, and you can read all about it in today's paper, that the family of Clodagh Haw and her boys, her sister Jacqueline and her mum Mary, are due to meet with the Garda Commissioner, the new Garda Commissioner, Drew Harris, tomorrow, to highlight some issues to him. You can read all about it in today's paper. You're very busy this week, Sean. You're out in Belturbet as well. They have a very interesting target and project going on out there. They're aiming to be one of Ireland's first zero waste towns in Ireland. It's a very ambitious target, but tell us a little bit about it.
It is indeed. It's in the offing this last 18 months. They formulated the plan in conjunction with Cavan County Council. Of course, the tidy towns there with Barry Wilson at the helm and a hard-working committee have come up with the idea. They're going to reduce waste by 50% over 5 years, and they think it's eminently doable. They didn't want to be setting a target, Linda, that they wouldn't achieve. And it's great to see the young people there. All the schools are involved, and they're zoned in on it. I was going to say zeroing in on it, but they're zoned in on achieving zero waste. And all the schools in Belturbet have several flags, green for waste and achieving waste. But it's something that other towns in the county probably will be emulating, and they're trying to roll it out nationwide. And the person from Connacht Ulster Waste there, the regional person in charge, was very, very impressed with what she saw in Belturbet.
Brilliant, and I see the council are supporting them. Fair play to Cavan County Council. They're putting some special bins on the streets there as a trial to see what they're
multi-purpose bin that you can put different things into, and they're also putting in fast chargers for electric cars as well.
Nice to read some good news about Belturbet and some positive initiatives there.
And it's interesting to note in a week, and Damien will know about Bon Boy winning in the football, St Mogues, and then the Junkie Tour, Belturbet getting through to the All Ireland in that. So there's a lot of good things going on at both schools, and it'll be interesting to see what impact that will have on their campaigns as they campaign now to retain their status as second level schools.
Damien, against proposed closures, to be winning competitions all around. St Mogues the Ulster title, and St Bricken's doing well in the Jump Couture competition.
Yeah, sometimes it's maybe just a little kick in the arse needed to, and I don't mean to say in the past that they weren't doing a lot of this stuff, but they're very much to the fore now about what they're doing. And when you drive down to Bon Boy especially, I haven't actually driven through Belturbet in the last week, but I was in Bon Boy. You see all the signs up. The community are very much behind the idea of retaining their school. So, sometimes a decision like that can unite a community.
It certainly appears to have done that, and I note there's another public meeting this evening, Wednesday. It's the Save St Mogues side of the campaign, and that's taking place in Temple Port Community Centre at 9 o'clock this evening. So the fight continues, it would appear. Other big news this week, the Cavan Town Parade, will it, won't it, is it on, is it off? It's back on again. Tell us, Sean, what's happening?
Well, it's certainly confirmed, and sometimes maybe it's good to go over the top a bit, and that's what they certainly did with the Cavan Parade, saying that it was called off and they weren't going ahead with it, and there was no funding from the council in place, and they couldn't go ahead with it. The next thing, people came on board and they got new people in, and the council actually came up with funding as well, and they have a lot of new people in, only two willing now to organise the parade. And Michael Mooney, the chairman of the committee, says they've booked bands for 2020, which is a good scenario, and Michelle Duffy Rudden is in there as secretary, I think it is, and also PRO, and the dynamic woman will give it renewed impetus and plenty of exposure on social media. And we have a good story there with a nice picture by Lorraine Tevan to let you know that the parade is actually on. And everything, all people participating in the parade, it's free. You're not charged to get into the parade. Some people are under the illusion that you have to pay to enter it. And a nice touch this year is the Eddie Brady Perpetual Cup will be given to the people with the best float. And also lorries, if you want to participate in the parade, they'll link you up with people that wants to use your lorry to put a float on it. So there'll be no lorries driving through the parade bereft of floats, which has been a bone of contention for years. And I know that you focused on parades in the past, and you have certain views on parades and the way they should be run, Linda. And there's no harm to express views, I suppose. You have a certain view on parades.
Don't be throwing me under a bus here now, McMahon.
Or a lorry.
Some years ago, I wrote an editorial in which I suggested that perhaps, rather than Cavan putting all of their focus into 12 or 13 St Patrick's parades dispersed on the one day all over the county, that they might come together and have a massive, big, celebratory type parade in the county town. And I was... I never got so many complaints about anything in my days as editor here over 10 years. They weren't happy with me, so much so that even the Cavan Town Parade Committee wrote a letter to distance themselves from my remarks. In other words, it wasn't their idea. Anyway, look, I do think there's some merit in people coming together and having a smaller number of bigger parades and making a big deal about it. That said, having observed some of these parades over the years, I have come to see that they really are very much a celebration of community and what's going on in the community. And we're better to showcase that than in your own community. And some of the smaller parades are terrific. And Damien, you've got to hand it to Cavan Town. I mean, they've played this game very well. They've got a lot of publicity out of this, and they've got the money from the council. They're getting more money from businesses. Good luck to you. It's great. But there's the smaller parades, the likes of the Kilnalecks and the Killashandras and the Yarvas.
And Swadlin Bar.
Mulla. There's so many of them. They have been plugging away for years with hard-working committees, and they've been doing all this fundraising themselves and putting on terrific days' entertainment. Yeah,
been self-sufficient, and I suppose from their point of view, they enjoy that. They enjoy, is there big opportunity to show what they can do as a community as well. So, I have to say to all the parade committees, especially the ones that go out and do the fundraising and do all that work, it is a great day, and St Patrick's Day is a special day for Irish people and in Ireland. So it brings a lot of people from around the world. Parades are part of St Patrick's Day, and it's something that I'd hate to see disappear.
Yeah, no, I remember it very much as a young child being brought into the parades, and it was a great day out. It was a big day. I think the moral of the story is whatever parade you decide to go to, go and support your local parade this year. Even try and take in one or two around about if you can. And if you're involved in a group, something like that, get out and march and put together a float or get dressed up and go all out and celebrate. And everybody should support St Patrick's Day and go to their local parades.
So there'll be an Anglo Celt float, will there?
It's only when you start. I was at the New York parade 2 years ago, and it's only when you see all creeds and classes dressed in green and guys with unusual names saying Happy St Patrick's Day and everything was great, that you realise that we should keep the concept going here.
I know, absolutely. And next Wednesday's issue is the last issue before St Patrick's Day, and we will be having an extended preview of all of the parades in the county, so watch out for that as well. Briefly mention the N55 works, the realignment works there at Killadoon. The next phase or section of that has just been granted permission by An Bord Pleanála, so imagine there's a bit of mixed reaction in the community out there about that. Some of the landowners who are going to be served in the near future with compulsory purchase orders, not at all happy. Others possibly delighted, but Anyway, it's going ahead. All that Cavan County Council needs now is the funds. You can read about that in today's paper as well. Damien, take us through some of the sporting highlights.
Yeah, I suppose on the back page starts off with Terry Highland leading Leitrim to Division 3, first time in the county's history under the new league structures that they've got promoted. You're going to have players like Emlyn Mulligan playing in Crow Park for the first time, so a phenomenal story. And Terry's success in Leitrim has opened the debate in Cavan about did he walk away too early, or should Cavan have held on to him a wee bit longer? But it's a debate that nobody's going to win over anywhere, because it's in the past now. But lots of obviously reaction to Cavan against Tyrone. I suppose, Sean, before he's brought up a throne at me, Martin Riley, maybe not just as good as Peter Hart on last Saturday.
But I think overall, Damien, Cavan, as the game progressed, you can't say they threw in the towel, but they didn't seem to compete on parity with Tyrone. Tyrone just seemed to surge ahead and play their own game and not worry about Cavan. What did you think? You were at the game when you were doing the commentary live. It's not that Cavan stood back from them, but I know with Killian Clark going off, that was a big blow to them. But could you define as a manager as well what went wrong?
Look, there were so many things went wrong in that second half. I suppose to start off, Michael Hannon makes the point, it's not all doom and gloom, you know, in his column, and he's right. The first half was a good performance, you know, with some mistakes, but second half it just fell apart. When Killian Clark went off, without using the phrase that you just meant, it didn't look like the effort was the same from the Cavan players, and that's something that needs to be addressed. Look, at when you're faced with adversity, which they were, 14 players against 15, the All-Ireland finalists from last year, you still like to see them come out and fight a little bit.
I heard Mickey Graham saying in a radio interview that they'll have to go back to the drawing board, that turnovers and passing and a lot of things that they thought they had rectified, and particularly after the Roscommon game that was going the right direction. He says they seem to be bereft of those on the day. Is that lack of confidence, or it's just, I suppose, you can't play well every day you go out and you never can explain it? Nobody goes out to play badly.
Yeah, well, I suppose you can't play well every day. I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. I think you can increase the level, your average level of performance.
Yeah, the whole team as when you put all some of the parts, as you often say, Damien, together, you think together they'll say to themselves, we'll get this a real go now. I
think what Mickey was kind of getting at, going back to the drawing board, is not that he's tearing up the plan at the minute. You know, Jim McGuinness famously said, I'm trying to get the numbers right, but that it takes 12 sessions to make an alteration to the system. Yeah. Now, Mickey Graham probably, since the start of the league, has only done 12 sessions, training sessions. So it's, you know, it's a work in progress.
We're not going to be patient, that's for sure.
Well, we're going to have to be a little bit patient. Yeah, that's it.
Monaghan's coming up next. Presumably, Cavan really want to beat Monaghan, and I assume vice versa. But they should have a good chance. Yeah,
well, look at that. It's a relegation playoff essentially. The loser of that game will play Division 2 football in 2020, and that's a reality that's facing them. You know, neither side will want to play Division 2 football. You can't become. It's very difficult to become a solid contender in Championship if you're not Division 1 consistently, and Cavan are going to have to break that duck. But the chances are that if you win that game, you have a good opportunity of staying, because Roscommon have a difficult close in with Kerry and Galway in the last two games. So you have an opportunity. If you got the 4 points, you actually could stay in Division 1. So look, it's all to play for.
The Monaghan game is next, is it?
Yeah, on the 16th.
Have we to play Dublin still?
Final game.
Yeah. That'll really tell us where we're at.
Yeah, but look, it's. I don't think that there's too many in the county that would think we're at Dublin's level.
Yeah.
But the Monaghan
we played well against Kerry and see where they're at now, and we did well against Roscommon. It's not all doom and gloom. It's just one of those things in a game. If things starts going wrong, it's like the Irish rugby team at the moment. They were flying last year, and even Joe Smith can't pinpoint what has gone wrong.
No, that's it. And sometimes there's a phrase in coaching: form is temporary and class is permanent. Yeah. And sometimes form just dips, and that's it. But we've got to. Cavan have got to pull themselves out of this, you know, no more feeling sorry for themselves. And confidence, maybe, Sean, you could have hit the nail on the head. Maybe it's a belief thing that, you know, we needed everybody on the field to compete with Tyrone and we didn't have it. So it's something that I know Mickey is working extremely hard and his management team on building confidence. But confidence comes as a result of hard work, and they're doing a lot of hard work, so hopefully the confidence will follow. Moving on, speaking of confidence and success, St. Mogs, a wonderful achievement. Headed up, I suppose, by the talented Queeveen McGovern, who scored 110 out of 311 and set up the other 2 goals. And as was described to me at the game, that when the backs were to the wall, it was Queeveen that stepped up. So he's a real prospect for the future. He's under 17 this year for Cavan.
He's tall, he must be over 6 foot already.
Yeah, he'd be about 6'1", maybe 6'2".
Wow.
And a real love for football. Like he lives and breathes it. But so do a lot of them. And St. Mogs, you know, for a school of a population of 250, I think, to compete at Ulster level and win an Ulster title, it's absolutely phenomenal and wonderful.
It's almost a Mullen-Yachta type tale, isn't it?
That's exactly it, yeah. So a 2-page spread there, interviews with some of the players, and then obviously match report from the final. So phenomenal stuff there for St. Mogs. Plenty of other sport. The ladies are covered, the hurlers are covered. They had a disappointing weekend. And I suppose on the soccer front, a massive congratulations to the CMLUL under 13 team lifting the Liam Miller Cup, a national tournament, and they managed to come out top against, I think it was the Mayo champions or the Mayo Schoolboys League team coming out. So well done to them. There's also athletics covered, so it's jam-packed in sport as always.
Brilliant. So heard it, folks, plenty going on in this week's set. Please do, it's in shops today. Pick it up on your way home and support your local newspaper.
There's one, sorry.
Oh, you're alright, go on.
Facebook
Patricia
competition.
Will
Patricia will kill me, exactly. So there's a competition on the Anglo Celt Facebook page. It's for Cavan Pet Clinic, who have put up a fabulous hamper worth €200. So get on to the Anglo Celt Facebook page, like and share for an opportunity to win that competition. It ends tomorrow, so you have today to get it done.
Great, well, you heard it here, folks. Get on the Facebook page, get the paper on the way home, and support your local newspaper.